Welcome to Edge Radio Australia. It's absolute pleasure to be here next to the man, the myth, the legend, as I like to say. You know, why not? Why not? He's a fantastic guy and certainly knows a lot about finances, a lot about politics, and a lot about, well, quite frankly, finding your life purpose. It is Derek Whittaker.
How are you, man?
I'm very good, mate. Very, very good to see you here, and we are ready for a big show. Let's be frank.
It's been a big week. It's been a very big week. And I find it really interesting in terms of the United Nations, all the leaders gathering together in the one place. And we've seen a little bit of that. We had, of course, the memorial of Charlie Kirk, and there were a lot of leaders in the one building, which made, from a security perspective, a lot of people nervous.
Very
all
much so.
That kind of, you had the president, the vice president, you had all the administrative team basically there in one place. And I can't imagine the security measurements they'd have to go to just put all that together. But,
so true. The last time they had that sort of band together, I mean, we're talking about Richie Valens, we're talking about Big Bopper and Buddy Holly. Come on.
Really, that far back?
They go, oh, no, Jesus. Yeah. There's probably three people in our audience who actually understood that reference. That's how old I'm becoming. All right. But I make light of it, but it's a very important factor. Let's be frank. I mean, there are a lot of people who have got a considerable concentration of power. They're in the one place. That is a security issue. Yeah.
Right. And then you go over to New York and there's the United Nations there. I've been outside the building. I haven't been in the building, but there it is. And all the leaders of the world gathered there at the United Nations organization. And Trump didn't hold back any punches. Didn't get off to a great start. The escalator didn't work. And through him, and of course, the First Lady, as they jumped on, that was there.
Yep.
Then the teleprompter didn't work, and eventually it got to a point where the press secretary was saying, look, if anybody has sabotaged this deliberately, we'll be onto it straight away if there was any.
Well, there's been more talk about that. And in fact, it has actually come forward that there's now some evidence that there has actually been sabotaging involved. So there you go. But, how do you back this up on, I'm sure?
It's a big call, but Trump didn't hold back on the punches when he visited the UN. Let's take a look at this first segment here. We've got a number of them, and we'll comment on them.
Okay, let's do that.
And Rwanda, a vicious, violent war that was. Pakistan and India, Israel and Iran, Egypt and Ethiopia, and Armenia and Azerbaijan. It included all of them. No president or prime minister, and for that matter, no other country has ever done anything close to that. And I did it in just 7 months. It's never happened before. There's never been anything like that. I'm very honored to have done it. It's too bad that I had to do these things instead of the United Nations doing them. And sadly, in all cases, the United Nations did not even try to help in any of them. I ended 7 wars, dealt with the leaders of each and every one of these countries, and never even received a phone call from the United Nations offering to help in finalizing the deal. All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle. If the First Lady wasn't in great shape, she would have fallen, but she's in great shape. We're both in good shape. We both stood. And then a teleprompter.
So there you go. There is Trump basically putting it to him saying, you haven't been doing your job.
No.
I've had to come in and do it for you. And when I have done it for you, no thanks, no recognition. What's going on? And that's a big call as far as, the conflicts that he has kind of dissolved there. It's a big kind of, I don't think they were expecting a
no way in the
United Nations by the President of the United States.
Well, normally the United Nations speeches go like this, okay? They go there, they talk fluff, everybody kisses each other's butts. And that's really what it comes down to, and nothing actually gets done. You've got a man here who's walked in and actually told the truth. That's really that simple.
It's quite hilarious, really, that he has the courage to do that. No, I mean, who's going to argue with him when he goes in there and does that? It's like, I'm the president, I'm the man.
That's right.
I've done the job that you can't do. Think about it. And this is going to really keep this in mind, because at the end of the show, we're going to contrast this to how the direction the other Western part of the world is going. So keep this in mind. Everything that you're hearing right now from the President of the United States, contrast this later. It's huge. It's black and white. But let's have a listen to the next part here. Trump continuing his speech, and obviously he's not happy about that teleprompter.
No, not at all.
That didn't work. These are the two things I got from the United Nations: a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter. Thank you very much.
All right, sorry about this. I'm having a couple of little technical issues that are coming through, but as long as the audio is coming through, that's the main thing, Derek. Do you have any thoughts there on the last of what he's just had to say there?
Not really. It's just a teleprompter. I think it threw him a little bit on the speech that it wasn't working.
Okay.
And he's used to everything going seamlessly with the technical team that he works with.
True.
And here he is walking into this organization. It's not his people doing the technicals behind it. He's annoyed, and I can understand that. I mean, you're pumped for this, you're ready, you're focused, and things aren't working.
Well, perhaps right now the United Nations could be controlling our IT because it doesn't want to play the game and put the goodies up on the screen. But you go with that anyway. Sorry, mate. Go on.
No, and I think if we hear the rest of what he has to say on this segment, it shows where things are going.
Okay, well, let's give that another go.
The Congo and Rwanda, a vicious, violent war that was. Pakistan and India.
Okay, my apologies, everyone.
Number 2.
Number 2, there we go.
In good shape, we both stood. And then a teleprompter that didn't work. These are the two things I got from the United Nations: a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter. Thank you very much. And by the way, it's working now. It just went on. Thank you. I think I should just do it the other way. It's easier. Thank you very much. I didn't think of it at the time because I was too busy working to save millions of lives. That is the saving and stopping of these wars. But later I realized that the United Nations wasn't there for us. They weren't there. I thought of it really after the fact, not during these negotiations, which were not easy. That being the case, what is the purpose of the United Nations? The UN has such tremendous potential. I've always said it. It has such tremendous, tremendous potential, but it's not even coming close to living up to that potential. For the most part, at least for now, all they seem to do is write a really strongly worded letter and then never follow that letter up. It's empty words, and empty words don't solve war. Israel and Iran, war and wars, Egypt and Ethiopia.
Okay, there we
now,
go.
after ending all of these wars and also earlier negotiating the Abraham Accords, which is a very big thing for which our country received no credit, never receives credit. Everyone says that I should get the Nobel Peace Prize for each one of these achievements. But for me, the real prize will be the sons and daughters who live to grow up with their mothers and fathers, because millions of people are no longer being killed in endless and unglorious.
All right.
I think what's highlighting there again, United Nations, you're not up to your job, you're not up to scratch. And I think you've got to remember, Trump has built a lot of his persona on The Apprentice that happened many years ago. And, if you were underperforming, well, you're fired. And he's saying, look, this organization has tremendous, tremendous potential, but it's not up to scratch. It's doing that. And, okay, some people look at, here comes the ego again, Trump and that sort of stuff, and interpret it that way. I think what he's really saying is, look, for me, the real reward is how many lives we're going to save here.
Of course.
Put accolades aside. And he's absolutely right in that, in that observation. What really comes along here is, I brought this up a few months ago, are these kind of 2-3 letter organizations, have they done their day? Have they done their dash?
I think they have. I think they're well and truly past their prime. And I think that when you take the UN into account here, okay, after World War II, it's certainly, I could understand why it had to come together. Okay, we were trying to bring unity. But for so long, that NATO, other groups like that, have just become warmongers and control merchants. I mean, I really do think that. And I think that as I said before, there's so many people who show up at the UN, show up all these different organizations, and they say the pleasant thing, all right? They say the nice, they pump everybody's tires up, but they don't actually say the facts. This is why when Trump sometimes he's not the most elegant speaker, let's be frank. Sometimes the rhetoric does sort of annoy me a little bit, and the way he phrases things. But I look at the content and I look at the fact of what he's actually doing, not actually what he's saying. And this man is actually saving the Western world. It's to my mind, it's as simple as that.
It's an interesting one. I mean, this is the international stage of politics. So politics, you talk about politics being focused here. It's intense here on the, in these kind of hallways of the world that's going on as far as the United Nations are concerned. I think the world has really had this tussle between East versus West as far as the end of Second World War was concerned. Of course, we had the Cold War era that we walked through. Now we're seeing a change in terms of socialism. And many have said that the United Nations is part of that socialistic agenda and has tried to bring the United States down and weaken it right there on its doorstep of the where their headquarters is in New York, which is a really interesting kind of concept when you consider it. Let's have a listen to a bit more of what he had to say here, because he expounds on this in deeper ways.
Okay, number 4?
3, I think.
3, let me see.
Solving the problems it should, too often, it's actually creating new problems for us to solve. The best example is the number one political issue of our time, the crisis of uncontrolled migration. It's uncontrolled. Your countries are being ruined. The United Nations is funding an assault on Western countries and their borders. In 2024, the UN budgeted $372 million in cash assistance to support an estimated 624,000 migrants journeying into the United States. Think of that. The UN is supporting people that are illegally coming into the United States, and then we have to get them out. The UN also provided food, shelter, transportation, and debit cards to illegal aliens. Can you believe that? On the way to infiltrate our southern border. Millions of people came through that southern border. Just a year ago, millions and millions of people were pouring in, 25 million altogether over the 4 years of the incompetent Biden administration. And now we have it stopped, totally stopped. In fact, they're not even coming anymore because they know they can't get through. But what took place is totally unacceptable. The UN is supposed to stop invasions, not create them and not finance them. In the United States, we reject the idea that mass numbers of people from foreign lands can be permitted to travel halfway around the world, trample our borders, violate our sovereignty, cause unmitigated crime, and deplete our social safety net.
Now, that statement there is just saying, you've done this. You opened our borders up. You have also funded these people coming through in the name of humanitarian aid while weakening us as a nation and country. Big call, big call.
I know. I don't even think it's a big call. It's an honest call.
And it's honest, and it's right in the front. And yeah, true. It's a statement of fact. And what he's also saying is that you're doing this across the world, and you're behind it.
Well, exactly right. This is a globalist agenda, right? And that's not conspiracy anymore. That's good old-fashioned fact. And the fact that the leader of the free world is talking about this so openly, I think this is an important time. And this is really, well, in religious terms, what would this be, my friend?
End times.
Well, okay, that would be one of them. I was going to go with the other one, but there we go.
What's your one?
Oh, I'm having a mental blank here. I mean, you know, I'm not good with the religious kind of stuff. Starts with an R.
Rapture type.
Yeah, we'll do that. Okay, no, it's not where I was going. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
But it is the end of times. I mean, it really is. I think that we are. I can't believe it, but we're actually living right now through, a very significant change in time. You know, like we've gone through all of these different periods, back in the past. And look, societies they grow, empires grow, but they also fall. And I think we might be at the end of this one. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. A few weeks back, we talked about that vision of Daniel and the talk of the iron and clay being the last empire and stage of empires that was there. And of course, the mixing of iron and clay is very, very weak. It's ironic, though, that you're mixing all these multiculturalism and ideals in there and removing sovereignty and moving cultural identity into this mishmash of multiculturalism under the name of, we've got to be respectful, and we've got to be this and that, and tolerant, all this sort of stuff. And people are going, hang on a second, if we do that, we ruin our cultures, we ruin our nations, we ruin our identity.
That's right.
And it's a big wake-up call.
It's a huge wake-up call. Culture is important, and I am absolutely sick to death of our governments going and tearing this apart. It really is a big issue. All right, we've just got a couple of comments have been coming through too, I might add, and I'll just throw them up on the screen if I may, just to answer them. I do apologise, we're having a few little technical issues with the screens not playing the games, and audio for that matter. I don't know what's going on, but we will try and endeavour to fix it through the show. So in End of Times, Israel will see a mass return of Jews, a covenant of the anarchists, probably...
Antichrist.
Oh, is that sorry, Antichrist?
That's Antichrist.
Glad you can see. You got the glasses on. Look at that. I appreciate that comment as well. That is fantastic to see because it's good to have a little discourse. There'll be many people who disagree with that, but that's a good thing about conversation, right? You can grow with it and hear different opinions. So that's an interesting one. All right. Our other comments have come through. We've had many on the way, and I appreciate that very much. I'm going to check something on the audio side, but when we jump to, did you want to jump to the next video?
Yeah, let's go to the next one.
Now,
please.
that is that one there?
Yep.
Fantastic.
Climate change would cause a global catastrophe. He said that it will be irreversible, as any nuclear holocaust would be. This is what they said at the United Nations. What happened? Here we are. Another UN official stated in 1989 that within a decade, entire nations could be wiped off the map by global warming. Not happening. You know, it used to be global cooling. If you look back years ago in the 1920s and the 1930s, they said, global cooling will kill the world. We have to do something. Then they said global warming will kill the world. But then it started getting cooler. So now they could just call it climate change because that way they can't miss. It's climate change. Because if it goes higher or lower, whatever the hell happens, there's climate change. It's the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world, in my opinion. Climate change, no matter what happens, you're involved in that. No more global warming, no more global cooling. All of these predictions made by the United Nations and many others, often for bad reasons, were wrong. They were made by stupid people that have cost their countries fortunes and given those same countries no chance for success. If you don't get away from this green scam, your country is going to fail. And I'm really good at predicting things, you know. They actually said during the campaign they had a hat, the best-selling hat. Trump was right about everything. And I don't say that in a braggadocious way, but it's true. I've been right about everything. And I'm telling you that if you don't get away from the green energy scam, your country is going to fail. And if you don't stop people that you've never seen before, that you have nothing in common with, your country is going to fail. I'm the president of the United States, but I worry about Europe. I love Europe. I love the people of Europe. And I hate to see it being done.
So lots of statements there in terms of the whole climate debate. It's interesting, he's kind of revealing how the play has played out over the last few years, gone from global cooling to global warming to we'll just call it climate change now, so that each time that it fits under there and doesn't fit the narrative, we've got it covered. And he's actually discussed a lot on the scene of the inefficiencies of green energy, particularly when it comes to windmill. He's not a big fan of those, and he was saying that.
No, and I'm going to correct you. I'll tell you, it's a wind turbine. It's not a windmill, and I would say that because I always say windmill, and it is the wrong terminology because it's like that is. I mean, a windmill is something that we see as being, you know, a positive thing, right? It's use of language. They've done it that way. I've noticed Chris Bowen has been out there. Oh my God, on TikTok, on Facebook, you name it, he's everywhere, and he is literally just sprouting lies, nothing but blatant lies. I'm blown away by the fact that, well, I know that legally politicians can lie, but it's embarrassing. He's literally saying that at the moment that effectively the more and more of these newfound, whether it be wind turbines, whether they took solar, whatever, all of these alternatives, that he's telling people they're bringing the power bills down. Well, I get my power bill every 2 months, and I don't think I've ever seen it go down.
The problem we've got is we've had such an agenda on this climate education, so to speak, or propaganda, as some would call it. And it's influenced the generations, right?
Mm.
It's in the primary schools now where kids are introduced to it, and it's seen as, this is correct, this is accurate information.
Mm-hmm.
That anyone who comes along and questions it right now is seen as really out there, way out there. And it's a good old label like conspiracy theorists and all that sort of thing. And I think that's not helpful for finding the truth and finding debate. And when that is going on, you've got to ask, well, who's behind that? And
Of
why is
course.
there an agenda? Why is this being questioned? It really, they call them climate deniers, and talking about powers of words. Again, labels. They love discrediting people. They love labels. And I think we've got to get back to, hey, look, if this stacks up, great. But if it doesn't stack up, then why are we pouring millions and millions and billions of dollars into this stuff that is only going to make us poorer? Australia is not set up for things like artificial intelligence. We don't have the energy to produce this sort of stuff. Meanwhile, the rest of the world is pouring billions of dollars into that sector.
That's right.
And we're getting left behind because of these green agendas.
Yeah, no, but come on, let's face it. You can run all these very powerful computers, all this powerful gear. It's really just get yourself a bike, okay, with a chain on it, run it to the house. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Honestly, when I see Bowen, particularly, obviously because he's the energy minister, which is a laugh in itself, I see old Airbus Albo doing his thing. They are going around on a tour around the world. I mean, you look at the energy they're using flying around the world, but they are just, to me, lying to the public, right? The public you're supposed to serve is treason. These people should be, and let's face it, it was a few hundred years ago, we'd have them hanging from a tree. Now, disclaimer, not talking about violence here, don't want any violence. I'm saying if it was several hundred years ago, we wouldn't put up with this. Why are we putting up with this today? It drives me nuts.
I think it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's been the hypocrisy of flying around in jets and then telling the rest of the world you should be saving energy, not reducing your carbon footprint. That's been an argument that's been called out for a long, long time. But it's here we have the biggest nation in the world, the biggest economy of the world, now going, listen, we're not going to go this direction at all. We're going to go a different path here, and it's got the world going, well, where does that place the rest of us? And they're having to tread very, very carefully because, of course, Trump holds the card of I've got the biggest market share in the world. If you want to sell to us and not attract tariff, then this is the way it's got to be done.
Okay, completely agree there. Well, I've got a photograph here, mate. Would you like me to bring this up?
Yeah, let's bring this up. This was a picture of our Prime Minister Albanese. This is a photo that the White House put up there of course, our Prime Minister and, of course, the President of the United States and their wives being a part of this. Now, it was interesting because he also put up a selfie of him catching up with Donald or DJT. And I think it's almost trying to affirm, hey, I actually caught up with the guy. He hasn't had a meeting with the guy. He hasn't had an official discussion where Australia stands with this. And he's desperate to be seen, hey, I'm working with the United States.
Yep.
So I find it really fascinating the lengths he's gone to try to get these meetings, and they keep falling through. I think Trump's cancelled on him twice or three times now.
At least.
And it's getting to the point of embarrassment where he can't get into the same room or even on the same phone call with him.
I want to talk about this photograph, okay? Because this photograph, to me, you look at the smile that Donald Trump is actually making here. Right? That is the complete fake. Okay, I have to smile for the 458th time in the last 2 hours. Smile. This is a smile. Look, I've used this smile myself. I think I have when you're at events and you've got to keep smiling and you've got to keep appearances up, but you're tired, the jaw's hurting. Every single married man knows this feeling. Okay, where you've got to keep smiling at the wedding when you've been at the wedding and you smile, smile, smile. It's not, and I'm not having a go at Trump for being disingenuous, right? I'm saying that he's making an effort here.
Well, he's just come off the whole Charlie Kirk memorial.
Exactly right.
It's a huge, huge itinerary that he's had. And that's an emotionally draining type of event.
Of course it is. And great point here. It is a forced smile. Thank you very much for that. It's exactly what it is. And when you look at the other photo, when the pause for the selfie, and like, don't get me wrong, look, I like a good selfie, but I'm not. I do. I like a good selfie. Get the angle right. We're all good. But when you're president of the United States and you're prime minister of Australia, I'm not getting a selfie. Sorry.
It's just unprofessional.
That's right. It's below the station of a statesman, right? And it shows what a level of, a lack of statesman that Albanese really is. It was embarrassing. It was a complete cheese moment in my eyes. Yeah.
But I think he's desperate to say, hey, yeah, I'm mixing with the big shots. And then Kevin Rudd comes along here and uses a very interesting choice of words.
Right.
As far as a description as to what's going on here.
Let's have a listen to old Ruddy. Old Kevin 07.
Optimistic about how we navigate the future of the Australia-US relationship. And that's why we were delighted to have the White House confirm this morning that the PM will be back in the United States on the 20th of October to meet with the President of the United States in Washington, D.C.
Utterly delighted.
Utterly.
Utterly. I think that's really interesting. Normally I think of something else when somebody says utterly, it leads into utterly disgusted. But I don't know. It's just a really weird choice of words there.
Look, Trump is about as excited to see Albanese as I am for catching up with my ex-wife, right? Like, come on, let's be frank. He's doing everything he can to avoid her.
Well,
Sorry.
It's really ironic too, because you've got a former Prime Minister of Australia trying to cover for the current Prime Minister of Australia.
Good point.
As to why the current Prime Minister of Australia hasn't had a meeting with the President of the United States yet. And fingers crossed it'll happen in October, right?
I feel the optimism.
Let's really cross our fingers here and let's hope this comes through. It's getting a little embarrassing.
Oh, look, it's an advert for October. It is just Kevin 07, and what a man of, I mean, I like to call him Mr. Sheen. Look, Mr. Sheen has no credibility in my eyes. The fact that he said those things, those incredibly negative things about President Trump, whether you like Trump or don't, if you are an ambassador, you don't speak like that. You just don't. It shows the class of the man. It shows the fact that, you know, Mr. Sheen himself, he's a little man. He's got little man syndrome. And why in the world have we got people representing this country who have little man syndrome? And I know I'm oversimplifying it all, but I'm just getting it down to the brass tacks. I want men and women equality to represent us, and we do not have that at the moment.
Well,
it makes me very frustrated.
As a diplomat, you can't give your personal opinion.
Of course you can't.
Just as he did on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it back then. You can't do that. You have to represent what is the policy of your nation at that time.
Thoroughly agree.
As the former Prime Minister, he should know that. And that's a big boo-boo. The fact that he's actually still in this position is pretty extraordinary.
A boo-boo is very kind.
I'm being kind.
I know you are.
I'm being diplomatic. And
something I can't do. So there you go. Don't put me up as an ambassador. Just saying. Oh.
But I want to show the contrast here to what we've been hearing. Okay, we've been hearing the President of the United States calling them out on the whole, you haven't done your job in terms of keeping the peace, and you haven't given us credit for that or supported us in that. You're on this climate change sort of thing. You've been having open borders into these nations, and they'll destroy your nations if you're not careful. Wake up, Western world. And this kind of calling it out, and as he sees it, in direct contrast. Now, the one who's been really on his meeting itinerary lately is Keir Starmer over there in Britain. Have a listen to what Starmer has been talking about, and he mentions our Prime Minister in this one.
Derek, do I have to?
Yep.
When we look around the world, in fact, we only need to look around this room. Kristrún from Iceland, Pedro from Spain, Mark Carney, who stormed to victory in Canada at the beginning of this year, followed by Albo in Australia, and of course Jonas in Norway just a few weeks ago. So in fact, pitted against our right-wing opponents, I'd say centre-left parties are having quite a year so far. And that is why today I am announcing this government will make a new free-of-charge digital ID mandatory for the right to work by the end of this Parliament. Let me spell that out. You will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have digital ID. It's as simple as that.
Right, so there you go. There's freedom of choice, democracy.
I like it. Can I offer for everybody a little bit of light reading? A book called 1984. Just have a look, check it out.
The whole reaction that has happened in the UK because of this has been extraordinary. I mean, so many people rising up and going, this is not fair, this is, you know, totalitarianism, this is Orwellian, we can't do this. And they're, of course, doing it because of illegal immigration, right? He's also got a one-for-one policy going on that if you send one over here, we've got an illegal over here in England, we'll send them back to France, and we'll take someone in who's coming in legally. So they're not actually reducing their migrant numbers. They're just taking in someone who did it legally as opposed to and sending someone back who did it illegally.
Okay.
What is also extraordinary is Tommy Robinson posted recently the amount of arrests that have occurred due to people putting up stuff on social
30
media
per day. 30 per day arrests in the UK currently.
compared to other nations.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's pretty extraordinary and staggering, the numbers that are going on there.
This is literally an attack on free speech. And now, of course, you're going to have your little digital ID. Otherwise, and he made it very clear. I mean, he reiterated the fact that you won't have the right. Right, I love the word right. I'm keen on the word right. You haven't got the right to work in the UK if you haven't got that. Well, this is coercive control.
Well, the numbers are like this. Apparently, online comments in 2023, the highest number of arrests was in the United Kingdom, 12,183 arrests.
Okay.
In Belarus, 6,205. Over in Germany, 3,500. And China came in at fourth at 1,500.
Hang on. Isn't China the place where you don't have free speech at all, and you can't even use Facebook? Well, they've got their own version of it, and it's very much controlled speech. And that comes in at what percentage of basically 8% of what the UK are doing as far as arresting people?
Yeah,
Wow,
it's pretty extraordinary what's going on.
Wow.
So, and now he's doubling down on mandatory digital IDs. If you want to work, it's mandatory, it's mandatory, it's mandatory. Big concerns about England. And, Trump has been calling it out and saying, listen, my concern is that you're going to lose your nations with immigration, illegal immigration. And you got the vice president over there in Vance over in there in February, who was calling it out and saying, you guys have become that which you fought against back in 1945.
So true.
And he's saying when you have people who are arrested for praying silently outside an abortion clinic, that is a big concern as far as freedom of speech is concerned. And he brings it up because they thought we used to have these values which we thought were important together, and we fought for those values together. What is going on? And really calling to account. So you've got the vice president doing that in Europe.
Yes.
Now you've got the president of the United States doing that on the global front and pointing to the organization who has been allowing is encouraging this mass immigration coming over and saying, you've made it cushier for them. You're giving them debit cards. You're giving them the things that they need to settle into a nation. What is going on? And it's pretty extraordinary.
It really is.
When you contrast this to Starmer's approach and showing, we've got the left of politics going really well here. And in fact, I want to show you this even further in this last clip here.
An absolute privilege to introduce a friend of mine, a real inspiration to those of us on the left, someone who is leading his country in the politics of renewal, and of course winning a landslide victory earlier this summer in Australia. Now, Albo and I have known each other a long time. We've met in many places around the world. We were in Canada early this year together at the G7, and we decided to brave a walk around the forest when there was rumours of some bear lurking around. But Albo, it was really great to see you there. And this week, it's been a particular pleasure to welcome Albo to our country at the Global Progressives Conference on Friday as a key partner in standing up the divisive politics of the right, taking the fight for the soul of our countries to those who peddle grievance, armed with our shared values and our determination to deliver change. And then later on Friday to my home in Downing Street, where Albo came armed with cans of Albo beer. I kid you not. And now here in Liverpool as part of our family, our sister party, a fellow member of this great movement. I am delighted because our two nations don't just share history and values, a monarch, and even a language, but Albo and I are actively working together to make our world more secure and to improve the lives of people in our countries. From our AUKUS partnership to the Australian soldiers who are standing shoulder to shoulder with British troops, training Ukrainians for the front line. From our free trade deal and our investment in each other's countries, creating wealth, jobs and opportunity, and boosting our economies. This is a relationship that really matters. So I am delighted to introduce to the stage a true friend of Britain, my friend, the Prime Minister of Australia.
thank you so much for that very warm Labor Party welcome.
And I think what that shows is this is not just about politics within one nation.
No.
How much of this is united across the globe? And that's what I want to point out here, right? There was such a glowing introduction. My first response is, gee, will that meeting at the White House get postponed in October yet again? That was kind of like, this, but it shows here, okay, this is a bigger agenda than just winning elections in different countries. This is like, we share such common values. We share this and that. We're mates. We're all of this. And I think that's what I really want to highlight today, guys, that this, again, I think they're overplaying their hand and they're showing what's really been going on.
Well, okay. I'm just kind of running through my memory of the last, I'm going to say 30 years. How often did you used to hear a leader standing up and talking about the left and the right so much? The fact that they're making that big distinction, he didn't actually mention the fact, of course, that there's an excellent new, I believe, Prime Minister about a year and a half in the job now in, say, Italy, okay, who has more traditional and conservative values. Obviously, the US, we don't mention that, let's just not talk about it. I mean, he did mention his little walk through the forest with Albo, and I think, I'm sure that the former leader of Qantas was probably with them. Join those dots. I am sick and tired of these grubby little men and the damage that they're doing to so many people. And you are right. This is a globalist agenda. It's not a coincidence that this is all happening right across the earth, right at the same time. What do we do to stand up against it? I mean, obviously, you've got all of so what's been going through UK at the moment over the last whatever period about free speech, okay, all those people losing their free speech. We've got the online safety, we've called it something else or whatever it's called here in Australia. That's about to come online. The digital ID, which I've been talking about in the UK, guess what? They want to run it and then out here in Australia as well. There's no coincidences here. We need to stand up to this. And there's a very, very simple way you can do this. People go, oh, I'm just one person. The old story, I'm just one person said 8 billion people, right? There's a really simple way you can actually fight this. You say no. You just say no. We did it 5 years ago, so many in society, and we can continue to do it. And obviously, we work politically to put good people into power so that we can actually make changes.
There's just too many commonalities. And I think that's what we've got to go here. I mean, why is it so many nations are having issues of their borders all at the same time?
Yeah.
Right? That's a big flag, red flag. Why is it so many nations now are discussing digital IDs? Switzerland has come out and said it's going to introduce one too, but it won't be mandatory. That's really interesting. Why is it that we're talking about the whole fight against misinformation? Well, we wouldn't want the truth to come out, right? It's overplaying the hand. You've got to ask, why is this coming out? Why is this such a common theme, and why is it all happening at the same time? I mean, that was a thing that got me in 2020.
Yeah,
because I've worked with local government before and organising Australia Day celebrations, right? Okay. And councils and this sort of stuff.
Sure.
It takes 9 months of planning to do a one-day event.
It does.
And you have to have 9 different parties there, all sitting around the round table discussing their point of view and what they need to do this.
Committee for everything.
It's slow moving.
Yeah.
And I understand that, right? Because it affects so many people on the day. You got to get it right. But when you look at something that happens so smoothly globally, that doesn't happen by accident. It's just too many coincidences to take place to go, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen by chance.
I agree. And I think those who are coming online actually mentioning that we're having some issues here. I do apologize. I do not understand what's going on because I'm literally watching the volumes go up and down in front of me. We've got some issue offline, but we're giving it red hot go and I'm trying to adjust on the go. So I appreciate very much you letting me know. That's the miracle of live. You can't go and clean these things up. But again, it's great to hear your opinions and your questions as well. Really appreciate that.
Good stuff. Well, I think that really sums it up as far as where the global thing is going. And again, I think a lot of people are just sort of thinking, well, we'll just wait out Trump and we'll sit here for the next 3-4 years and hope he goes away. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think the impact that he's made already in 7 months and what he'll continue to do moving forward is just too big to ignore because you've got the people in America taking back their power and they're going to say, hey, we're going to do somebody who actually stands up for us and our interests You can't ignore that. And you're already seeing the uprising happening in England at the moment, with 3 million people marching through the streets just 2 weeks ago to basically say, we are not happy with the way this immigration issue is going on, and illegal immigration is going on, and taking our culture and our people from us. So there's a lot going on there.
Very true. Derek, it's the end of the show. Thank you very much for your insight today. Really appreciate that. Now, as far as the greater wealth, obviously we talk about the way that finance and politics collide and the changes that and the effects they have with everybody's everyday life. If you want to improve your life financially, this man has some courses, some great courses. I've been actually talking to 2 of your students and former students in the last week, mate. Okay. And they're doing rather well. Let's just say that. Yeah, it is fantastic. The course that you do, your courses rather that you do, there's something for everybody. And I've been very lucky and done a couple, but geez, these advanced ones, I'm being a bit jealous. Seeing what's going on here, that's fantastic. Yeah. And I did mention friends, and then of course, casual acquaintances like Travis Carter there and Loanne. I'm kidding, who are very much family, you pains in the butts, all the way over there in Vietnam. But this is the great thing. You get some knowledge about the way the system works and actually the way you can make the best life for you and your family. It's a very big deal. All right, let's get out of here. Thank you very much for being part of the Greater Wealth here on Edge Radio Australia.